One Heart with Africa has been carrying around a dozen students annually. We are sort of a per child basis, depending on our donations. We sponsor what we can carry, and I take care of the rest with my retirement savings. Primary school is now free since the election of Mr. Kibaki. But sometimes the school uniform itself is a limiting factor for parents to take their children to school because they'll be chased home if not in the proper dress. So One Heart does take care of some basic needs to get a child into primary school, which is free. Meaning the uniform, maybe some shoes, maybe a book bag, and some writing materials. Now secondary school is the biggest burden for parents who are subsistence farmers and don't normally have any other big major expenses. So again, they try their best, and I'm in schools where I have faced the fact that my brightest and most gifted children are at home at month's end because of fees. They're constantly being chased out of the classroom. So we just have concentrated, I have concentrated my efforts of taking care of these secondary school children. But the funds are limited, so we have to have our screening methods. Of course, we're going to fund the brightest, the neediest, give a certain amount of priorities toward orphans. Basically, we've been able to maintain a dozen per year. I could say some of the very first children I sponsored, I was their teacher, even their classroom teacher. And one of the first students I have taken to secondary school and completed university, and to see him employed as a teacher was one of those students. His name was Katimzi Mwamba, a very charming boy. I sponsored my fast girl because she was not afraid to come to the front of the classroom with a piece of chalk and show the other students how to solve a particular math problem. Subsequent to that, I found myself a victim of a violent robbery in the school compound, and I was the class teacher that year, the graduating class teacher, like our 12th grade. And I had 7 students in my own class who I was assisting fully or partially. So when I medevac to Washington DC for surgery, I just said, heal me quick, I've got to get back. The Peace Corps will terminate me in 6 weeks. I made it back. But the last thing I did before I left for America was to go to a bank, to give another teacher 6,000 Kenyan shillings and tell him, please pay 2,000 for this one, and this one, and tell that teacher not to send them home. But my return was, the most rewarding experience. The students were at STAS, they were at evening preps, well, we call it study hall here, and they saw the vehicle stop at the school gate and saw me, and they came tearing out of the classroom, running, screaming, and the first 2 to greet me, of course, were the 2 gals I was sponsoring, with hugs and kisses and whatever, which is not done in secondary schools in Kenya. And the boys just ran to grab my baggage. Of course, I had to climb the school fence. They assisted me. They escorted me to my home. The only bad news was to see the splints of wood around on the floor and my blood stains from the stick that I was beaten with, because the people who had given the key feared that they should not remove any crime scene evidence. But anyway, I survived. I continued. And even I say, one reason why I'm in Kenya is because I'm hard-headed. The thieves broke their stick on my head.
That's a good story. Approximately how much US dollars does it cost to sponsor a child through either secondary school per year? Let's start with secondary school. How much?
I estimate around $350 US per year for secondary school students in boarding schools, which is most of the case, and around the same for university, for just tuition and academic fees, and maybe some money towards housing, of course. It's for students in, let's say, humanitarian programs. Humanitarian subjects, not technical subjects. Usually we let the parents try to pay the what we call school supplies. That can include your shoe polish, your tissue paper, but you know, the basics, and the transport and food. I don't usually like to sponsor a child 100%, right down to their socks, because it's a three-way commitment. The child has to be committed to academic excellence, the parent has to be committed to do the necessary to make the child comfortable in school, and then my job is just to handle tuition, academic fees. And if the child is sent home because it has no leather shoes, it's not my fault. And I have to make arrangements for the parents to do their job. They're not going to be sent home because One Art with Africa failed in their responsibility or commitments.
What, in general, do the parents think getting this education for their children is going to do? Do they believe that education is the answer to poverty, or what do they think is going to come of it?
And their attitudes are under change. Say when I started as a Peace Corps volunteer, it may not be so important for the girl child to go to school. The brothers may be given priorities. But I was blessed to learn that the first girl I sponsored, the one that had no fear of going to the blackboard and writing the answer in front of the other children, it was her older brother who gave up his secondary school education so she could continue because her academic performances was better, and he was just willing to work on the farm and make sure that she finished. So he was very generous.
So the family, I know many people in the United States think education is the way out of poverty, and it sounds like the Kenyan parents feel the same way, and the family.
They are coming to really consider it a must to educate their children. I find more bright girls sitting at home, and I don't know why. Why is it the girls always position number 1 and 2 in standard 8, and then the number 1 and 2 in Form 1 and 2, and then at Form 4, they somehow drop back behind a couple boys. So I'm finding girls coming out of primary school at the top of their class and dropping down in the front by the end of secondary school. But I do try to encourage them in sciences and maths because every Kenyan student dislikes those subjects more than any other. And I always think it's because they weren't the left brain wasn't programmed properly as a child. No strategic toys, you know, no chessboard, no game of Scrabble, no whatever.
Is that what you were referring to when you said earlier that when you were teaching in secondary school, it was like teaching empty circuits?
Yeah,
Try to
I'm teaching empty circuits. You know, the brain did not have the right activities to build those neurons, and now they just died. That's why I call it teaching empty circuits.
Because they don't have the right preparation in the primary grades.
If they had games, puzzles, building blocks, I think things would be a lot different. But poverty is preventing this. Girls do not have dolls. They have live ones. They're younger brothers and sisters.